It's the Hall of Fame boxing referee. I'm Joe Cortez for all of Las Vegas. Come on, guys, let's touch them up. Fight. I'm Joe Cortez, fair but firm.
Hey guys, welcome to the Fair but Firm show here. Joe Cortez with my co-host John Zemel. John, we're at a new station here today, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about the coming fights and some of the outstanding fights of the year.
I'm very excited, man. I'm super excited to be here. 101.5 FM and 720 AM. We're happy to be here. Happy to be part of the team. I could not be more excited.
Exactly. Well, this past weekend we had Terrence Crawford fight. Terrence Crawford looked outstanding, beating Jeff Horn.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking out here. They're talking about Terrence Crawford and for one of the big fights of the year against
Errol Spence.
Yeah, Errol Spence.
Spence. Well, that's one of the 4 mega fights. I think there's 4 mega fights right now that are out there, and that's one of them, which I'm super excited about. I think you have you have the Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight matchup. I think you have Mikey Garcia versus Vasily Lomachenko. I think you have Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, and then I think we have to have a conclusion with Triple G and Canelo. And exactly. I think that's fully in one of these in that conversation now.
Well, they're talking about the Raiders station opening up in 2020. They think that would be the fight. It would be just right. You got to marinate the fight.
I couldn't agree more.
You got to mix it up a little bit, get more publicity. Make sure these 2 guys are household names. So when it comes to the big fight, late 2019, or when the Raiders Stadium opens up.
I hadn't heard that, and that's an excellent. That's awesome.
That's the latest news today. So I think that'll be great. Either late at 2019, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, or when the Raiders stadiums opens up, and it'll be big. It'll be like a 65,000.
Something kind of insane.
Seat arena
that just started coming out. They were talking to Errol Spence, and they said if after Mikey Garcia beats Robert Easter, because they're both represented by Al Heyman, it asked him if he'd be interested in fighting Mikey Garcia.
Yeah.
And he said yes. He said, let's make it happen. But, that just seemed like talk until yesterday or 2 days ago. Mikey Garcia comes out and says after the fight he wants Errol Spence. He says he called him out and said in December he wants him. Now, I mean, this is the same Mikey Garcia who's about to defend his 135-pound title, and he wants to go up and fight a guy who's big for 147. Now, we've always admired Mikey Garcia. We talk about him on the show and his willingness to fight anyone, and he has no fear, and he wants to be in that what we call the Shark Tank up at 147. But I mean, calling out the guy who could be ruling that division right now is pretty insane. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you want to see it?
Like I said before, you have to start marinating, getting everything ready. That's a good time to start now. You just can't wait for the last minute to start promoting. You got to start promoting as of now, as of yesterday. So this way people know. Make sure these guys have household names, and they'll say, wow, yeah, these are the fighters. They're going to try to make it look like a Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns fight. That's what it's building up to.
Yeah, it really is. It's exciting, man. I mean, there's, like I said, those 4 super fights are the ones everybody talks about. I mean, you have anytime any one of those guys fights throughout the year, everyone's calling out, their whole press conference between them, their promoters. That's all everyone talks about is when are you going to fight this other person? When are you going to fight? And when you're linked like that with an opponent like Pacquiao Mayweather were for years, eventually you have. I mean, the fans are going to want to see it, and they're going to see it. Joshua Wilder, we hear news about every single day. Who knows if we're going to get it? But the fact that we're hearing about news about in those negotiations every day has to mean something.
Well, I think that's what they're doing now. They're getting the names out there. You got, like I said before, you got to get out there the names every day. It's like when you're promoting a product. You got to put it out there as much as you can so you can sell it big. So I think it'll be something big for boxing. But I think that come 2019, the Joshua and Wilder fight is going to happen.
Yeah, I still think there's a chance it could happen this year. I mean, they seem, like I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And the fact that they're still talking a lot means there's something. And I want to give a shout out to the fans everywhere. I think a lot of this is on us and on them, on the rest of the fans, that we put that pressure on both promoting teams and said, look, you can't keep playing around. I mean, it's 2018 and we have access and we have social media and we have the ability to get our voices heard. And so when we demand fights, it's not like back in the old days where the only people who had a voice were newspaper writers. The good thing about social media is, traditional media isn't the only media.
Right, exactly. Well, a lot of people are asking also about what's happening with Abdel Mares, one of our listeners out there. Edward, all I can tell you, Edward Garcia, is that Abdel Mares still has a great career ahead of him. I mean, he fought a great fight against Leo Santa Cruz.
2 great fights against Leo Santa Cruz.
Exactly. But the last one was a good one as well. And and the fans want to say, well, are we going to do something that maybe make it a trilogy? Well, if Modesty, he got enough, and the fans really liked it that much. I can't see why not.
Do you want to see it, though?
Good.
Do you want to see a third one of those?
And you know what? They put up a hell of a fight.
They did.
But Modest is still like, he says, I can get him. I can get him. Do
you believe him?
And Leo Santa Cruz said, you know what? There's a lot of other guys lined up, and they want to fight Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz, just can't concentrate on.
No, I agree.
On the fight he already beat twice.
It's very similar to what's going on with Jared Hurd and Erislandy Lara right now. They fought an amazing fight, and people are saying rematch, and Hurd saying no. I'm ready to move on. I've done that stage of my career, the Lara stage. I'm ready to move on to the Charlo stage or whatever the next stage is.
Exactly. But Lara feels like he still deserves a shot. It could happen down the line. Matos has to go ahead and. Hurd has to go ahead and move on to his next opponent. And Lara, he'll still be in the mix, just like Luis Ortiz when he fought Deontay Wilder. I mean, he lost, but his stock stayed up there.
That's something. It not only stayed up, it rise. That's one of my favorite things that happens in boxing, and it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, it's always really cool. Is when you have a situation where a guy loses, and because of the heart that he displayed or the show that he put on, his stock goes up from what it was beforehand.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of crazy. It feels like a Rocky movie where this guy that, before he had, some sort of clout or whatever, he was able to get this fight. And then he loses like everyone expects, but now he's a name. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you see that with Ortiz right now. I don't think it's making him any extra money because people are now even more afraid. Before they were afraid. Now they're like, not worth the small payday.
Well, I think that Luis Ortiz is going to be in for another big payday. I think after the Joshua and the Wilder fight, once that's over, I think you're going to have they're going to say, well, we want to see Luis Ortiz again with either Wilder or Joshua, whoever. He could definitely be in the mix because once Joshua or Wilder win, who do they have in line? They're going to have to end up fighting somebody with a name recognition. And Ortiz, he put a little pressure on Wilder on that first fight. Fans want to see that rematch.
Yeah, the question is age, because as we know, there's always those question marks with Cuban fighters. It's a lot like basketball players that come from some remote parts of Africa. The birth certificates situation, we don't really know how old a lot of guys are, and there's a lot of question marks there. There was question marks with Rigondeaux, and there's question marks with Ortiz, and even if there weren't, he's still listed at 34, and he looks 54. He fights like, he still fights well. He's still super technical, and he's got a lot of power, and he really put the pressure on Wilder. There's no question in that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if he can outlast these guys playing their little games. Although I have to say, people keep saying, if this fight doesn't happen, is it going to be like the last fight when he fought Parker? Now, the reason why Joshua fought Parker was to get that belt. He needed that other belt to help unify, and I completely understand it, but that fight was boring. The backup plan here would be Alexander Povetkin, who you can, make all the criticisms you want when it comes to, the way his career's gone or, the failed drug tests or whatever you want to say, but he's not a boring fighter. And I think if it doesn't go down, if we have to see the Povetkin-Joshua fight first, I don't think it's a bad fight.
I don't think so. I think that the heavyweight division definitely has a lot to bring to the table this year.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we can't forget that welterweight division, like I said before.
That's the best division.
It is the best division.
Yeah, right now.
Right now in boxing, this is what the fans want to see. You get in there right there. It's just like anything else, any other sport. We had the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
It was, I always say a shout out to my friend Jim out there from the Golden Knights, sales and vice president. I was with him the other night, and it was the Golden Knights are the hottest thing out there. They're loved not only here in Nevada, they're loved by the whole country.
Yeah.
Like you may have a favorite team in your state, but I think right behind them you have a second favorite, which is the Golden Knights.
Yeah, and most people, their second favorite team is the Golden Knights.
Yeah, no question about it.
Nice.
I take off my hat to these guys, and hopefully we'll start bringing them on the show. I was talking to Jim the other night, and we're talking about doing something with the Golden Knights. So hopefully we'll be seeing some of these superstars here on our show with us.
Oh, we also have some other news, which is cool. Swissaket Sor Rungvisai, who since we started the show has seen, when we first started doing our podcast about a year ago, has seen his stock rise about 100 times compared to what it used to be. We have news that he's going to fight on July 21st, which is going to be exciting. We all love watching him fight.
Right.
He's not going to be fighting anybody that you've ever heard of. I didn't even bother writing the guy's name down because he's got like 6 losses and 2 draws, and he's never really fought anybody. But people who followed his career, Rungvisai's career, are aware that he's gone through a lot of personal issues right now and stuff that we don't like to touch on because we're not TMZ. But he's coming back, and we're just happy to see him back in the ring, even if it's against a can. And we like watching him do what he's done. And his career has been amazing. From when he used to be a garbage man in Thailand eating trash. And then, his first 2 fights he lost. And he said, if I lose my 3rd fight, I'm quitting boxing. and he got a draw on the 3rd fight. So he said, all right, I guess I'm not quitting. And now he's, defending champion. It's amazing. Yeah,
it is. I was also the other night, 2 nights ago, I was with the superstar Hall of Famer, Forrest Griffin.
I love Forrest Griffin, man. Forrest Griffin, when I was waiting tables at Sammy's Wood Fire Pizza when I was like 21 years old, he used to come in all the time. He was always the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's a gentleman, first class, and we had a good time. We'll talk a little bit about him when I come back after this brief commercial.
Coming soon, La Mansión Luxurious Assisted Living Residence is nestled on the northwest part of Las Vegas. La Mansión provides luxurious accommodations coupled with optimal care. Residents needing assisted care can rest easily knowing exceptional care is our standard. La Mansión strives to help residents forget they're living in an assisted living residence and works to create an atmosphere reminiscent of a home, better yet vacation. La Mansión is a family-owned and operated assisted living residence dedicated to providing seniors assistance with activities of daily living such as dressing, bathing, management of medication, while providing high quality of life to all our residents. Our residents consist of 12 luxurious suites and will offer the latest amenities, privacy, and comfort for each of our residents. You can reach us at lamansionlv.com or you can call 702-630-4810 for further information.
Okay, fans, we're back with you here again. We're talking about some of the great fights. We were just talking about Forrest Griffith a minute ago before we went on the commercial. I was with him Friday night at a mixer, so sports event. And what a gentleman he is, first class. He has a boy that I believe is 8 years old. And he still likes, he's like a real charming young man, Forrest Griffith. And had a lot of fans here in Las Vegas and around the world.
Oh my goodness, yes. And like I said, he's a really nice guy. I've met him, and he's always been a class act, and he represents Las Vegas well. I don't know where he's from, but he's lived here for quite some time. I've seen him out eating breakfast. I think he lives by me because I see him out all the time, and he's always he's just a cool guy.
Yeah, he is definitely done this.
Hey, we want to give a shout out. Actually, the ESPYs nominations were just announced. And there's Fight of the Year, Fighter of the Year always. Yeah. And this year we have two UFC guys and 2 boxing guys, which is awesome. You like having a good blend. And the 2 boxers are the guys that I think everyone considers the pound for pound number 1 and 2 in Terrence Crawford and Vasily Lomachenko, which we want to give a shout out to both of them for keeping the sport on the map. And I couldn't be happier. Absolutely.
I think that the sports are bringing up a lot of great young talent. You want to read off some of the names of some of the
I
stars?
I'm excited because we this is our first show on this network, and we couldn't be happier to be here. But it's also about the midway point in the whole year. And we talk about, if you've been following us for a while, a lot of our listeners online, you might know we've talked about how great 2017 was, one of the greatest years in boxing, and a great influx that boxing really needed. And we were trying to track to see how well 2018 was going to do with it. And we've had little benchmarks along the way where we addressed it. But right now I want to do our, if you followed us before, we had a end of year last year awards, the Fair But Firm Awards. We're doing the Fair But Firm mid-year awards right now. So I'll start with, and I'll ask you this, Joe, the Fight of the Year. I have the fight that we touched on earlier, a couple that we touched on earlier. We have Jared Hurd versus Erislandy Lara. We have Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz, the big comeback. We have the Santa Cruz versus Mares rematch. We have Jeff Horn versus Terrence Crawford, and we have Jorge Linares versus Vasily Lomachenko. Which one of those would you put as your fight of the year?
They're all been great fights.
Oh, yeah.
But one that left me off my seat, I got scared, just like Anthony Joshua there.
Yeah.
Wilder, when he was ready to go down for the punch from Luis Ortiz, it was a good fight because it was kind of back and forth. It kept you on your toes all night. I gotta go with that fight. Even
You know
though
what? The drama in that fight was huge, man. That's what made it so awesome.
It was the drama, the excitement, and you were like so tense.
Exactly. Like Herd Lara and Santa Cruz Mares had more punches thrown. They had more back and forth, but there wasn't as much narrative there. There wasn't as much weighing on it, and that when I think we all thought Wilder was going down. Didn't we?
Yeah. And I'm sure that Anthony Joshua and all the Brits back in Great Britain would say, "Oh no, please don't go down." But that's the fight we want. We want Wilder.
We want Wilder.
Yeah. So because all that drama and emotion, I gotta go with that one.
Although I think on pure technical skill, I think I'm going to give it to Linares versus Lomachenko because their footwork and their ability, and also Lomachenko getting knocked down for the first time in his career, coming back and ending that fight. I have to say. So we have those are our that's our fight of the year. I'm taking Linares Lomachenko, and you're taking Wilder Ortiz, which I think is awesome.
Okay, good. I'll go for that.
How about we have the you want to do knockout of the year or fighter of the year?
Go knockout
of the year, baby. All right, with the same Lomachenko fight when he put down Linares with that big liver shot, or Deontay Wilder coming back and getting the stoppage, or Errol Spence with that other liver shot in the first round KO against the Campo, or one that was really big at the time, but then people kind of forgot about, Jamal Charlo versus Hugo Centeno Jr. when he hit him with that big left hook.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not really too impressed with most of those knockouts.
Mm-hmm. Well, it hasn't been a great year for knockouts, believe me.
No, but I would say that Linares getting knocked out by Lomachenko with a shot to the liver, that was kind of
that's the one that's going to stick in my head.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then now, here it is, the mid-season, fair but firm, fighter of the year. We're going to start with Mikey Garcia, who came back to the ring for the first time in 2 years. We finally saw what he could do against Sergey Lipinets, and he put himself right back in the pound-for-pound conversation. You have Terrence Crawford, who moved up to 147 after unifying 140 and went up to chase a belt against the great Jeff Horn and won that fight, one that you did the unofficial scorecard for right on ESPN.
Yeah.
You have Vasily Lomachenko, who moved up and captured his third world title in a record, 13 fights, which is insane. And then you have Errol Spence, who fought twice and whose star we've seen rise more than anybody else on that list, and who started off a relatively unknown and now is a guy that we talk about almost every week. Who do you have between those four for fighter of the year so far?
Well, I'll tell you, so far I got to go with Lomachenko. And
because of the third belt?
Yeah, conquering the third belt. It only 13 fights. And you don't see that in boxing. You see a guy that's been around by 50, 60, 70 fights, winning 3 or 4 different championships, different weight divisions, but to do it in 13 fights, that's unheard of.
No, it is. It absolutely is. And I think I'm going to have to go with Errol Spence because what he's been able to do, his atmospheric, stratospheric rise out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but he wasn't the guy that we talked about, right now before this year. But it's kind of cheating because he did he's the only one on that list that got to fight twice. So, but I'm gonna go with Errol Spence, and I don't disagree with any of those decisions.
Yeah, I go with your Spence is good, and I think that he's still young, still coming. He's not a household name yet. He's got to a level where definitely one pound for pound one of the best fighters out there.
And he's a guy you talk about, And if you want to actually, one thing I love very much about the welterweight division, we talk about how tough it is all the time. My favorite way to describe how tough the welterweight division is you take a guy who's considered pound for pound number 1 in the world, right? There's only 2. It's Terrence Crawford and Vasily Lomachenko. And you can make an argument for either, and I won't argue with either one of them. But if you make an argument for Terrence Crawford, you can also say that he's not even the best in his division because of Errol Spence.
Exactly.
I mean, that's insane.
Well, we're going to see by the end of 2019 what happens.
I think so, too.
Those
are my 3 divisions so far. But those are our fair but firm mid-season awards. And I was excited to do that.
I'm glad that we're able to bring up these young fighters, keep the names out there in the mix because we know that your fans out there are the ones that are making these fighters to be where they're at today. And if it wasn't for you guys, boxing won't be where it's at today. So I got to say that, thanks to our engineer here, Charlie Carrillo, for doing a fine job as always.
As he always does.
Always running around last minute, getting things done last minute.
As well as the gentleman behind me. What's his name? Is it Kenny?
His name is Kenny.
Kenny, yeah. Kenny. Shout out to Kenny.
Kenny, our engineer behind us. Hey, good going, buddy. And as you guys know, we like to have a lot of fun on the show. and you fans want to hopefully have some questions for us next week, text them to me at the Joe Cortez at joecortez.com, and I'll be more than glad to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you reach out to our Facebook page or our Twitter account, we love answering questions on the show. As our fans know, we do this radio show on Saturday mornings, which I'm honestly super excited about. I love this studio. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
Kenny's great. And we also do our show on the beginning of the week, usually Mondays online. So we love that people listen to it, and we love answering their questions, honestly.
Yeah, I want to say a shout out to Mike. He's driving with his beautiful wife. I believe he's going out to California today. He's our sales rep here at the radio station, and we want to just say thanks for the being on the 101.5
and 720 a.m.
and 720 a.m. a station here in Las Vegas. This reaches we have 50,000 watts, which means it carries us around to 13 different states.
That's exciting.
Which is better than just doing it in Las Vegas. We take off our hat off to our previous station, but that
was a nice home that we had there.
Yeah, but here we're building up now. We want to go up to higher levels and get the fans not only in Las Vegas but in other states, 13 states in the surrounding areas, to get to listen to what we got to say about what's happening with our show in the sports of boxing.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
We're happy to be here, and thank you all for listening, and thank you all for having us.
Yeah, and don't forget La Mansión Luxurious Assisted Living. We're setting that up real nice, and we hope to have that assisted living set up and going by the end of September.
It really is beautiful. LaMansionLV.com. That's LaMansionLV.com. It's a beautiful assisted living center.
Okay, guys, we'll go to a commercial. We'll talk to you soon, and God bless you all.
The Boxing Talk Show, fair but firm, with the Hall of Fame boxing referee. I'm Joe Cortez for all of Las Vegas. Come on, guys, let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez, fair but firm.